Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
I would like you all to give a warm welcome to our main speaker tonight, Gene.
Hi everyone, I'm an alcoholic. My name is Gene. I too hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but I will substitute and do my best. Let's see, I'll set that over here. I got a tendency to spill that once in a while. So, here we are, meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. If I could get everyone just to kind of bow their heads for a minute before we begin, I'd appreciate it. And if you'll all just keep your heads down now, that way when I speak, I won't have to look at you. Jesus. Boy, I've used that many times, you know, it just kind of loosens it right up. But anyways, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm Gene. My good friend Paul just showed up, and boy, I feel good. I was going to run out and get my cell phone, call him. Because, boy, these meetings are important, and I think he knows that. He just had some things that detained him, and my good friend Dave's here. And I thank Don already for asking me to speak tonight, so that's good. Our leader was very interesting. I thought she said one thing that made my ears twing, and I like to get them to twing at an AA meeting, was that she finally believed she was an alcoholic. And, you know, out of all the things that she said, that's it. That's it. You know, sooner or later, a guy like me and my condition and whatever's going on in my life, I got to believe that I'm an alcoholic. And if I can convince myself of that one thing, keep myself convinced, then I don't go out and try some foolish things again. And good Lord willing, November 15th, this is the meeting I come to all the time, but I'll be taking a cake for 19 years. And I know one thing I've experienced over that amount of time, that when I do believe that I do surrender to not only alcohol but other things that go on in my life, makes a difference. And we were talking at early on before the meeting outside. I was with a couple of guys that life doesn't the world doesn't revolve around me anymore, and I had to find that out. And I'm not always willing to listen to what other people got to say, and I think I know it all sometimes, but more than not, when I do, I learn the right things, and that's what I learned here in this program. I got a colorful AA past. I can think back real quick and come up with some hummers of a drunk log, but I come from a family of 9 brothers and sisters. So at a family of 10, you can tell what my dad was doing besides just drinking. And do I feel cheated sometimes, you know, because I didn't get mine? I think so sometimes. I mean, I heard our leader say how she felt that, you know, a lot of it was to do with the family and the reactions. I mean, I remember I was, I think, 9 years old when my parents got a divorce. And from then on, I was living with grandmas and aunts and uncles and being shopped around, traded around, or whatever. So I didn't have the upbringing, the real staunch Catholic, nice upbringing that a lot of us do get. But I'm convinced of one thing. I read a while back that nobody gets 100% of everything they're going to get from a family and life. You know, I heard that somewhere, or read it, and it's true. If we got a real solid family, we don't get 100%, because I've seen solid families with money not get everything they want to, and it hasn't worked any better than this program will. So my father was an alcoholic. I'm not sure when he was an alcoholic, but it seemed like most of my time, even on up to 9 years old or past that, I can remember him drinking and parents fighting and all that stuff. But he had a habit with my brothers as they got older, like the day always shined on a six-pack. And I know one thing, he taught us guys how to drink and drink well and be a man, drinking in all those bars and everything and fighting. Oh, God. And I'm convinced today that it never got me any farther than I would be right now if I would have just been able to go the straight and narrow way in life, but just didn't happen that way. And for me, I launched on a career, I think, of trying to figure out how people would love me someday and how I'd be important and everything else in life. And I was just determined that I was going to do the right thing and be something. So I started drinking. I hear a lot of people too. I'll just say, I hear them say that, boy, I was born an alcoholic. I came right out of the chute an alcoholic. I'm not as concerned today as just how we do become an alcoholic as I am the fact that I am one. But I believe, for myself, I believe people can be trained to be an alcoholic. I mean, that was all part of my family right from the get-go, and my dad and brothers and whatever. So if you put a lot of time and effort in drinking in like I did, then I think you'll have a real good odds of becoming an alcoholic or getting addicted to this disease. So I learned to drink at an early age. With I think I was probably 12 years old, started drinking, and of course living with my aunts and uncles and moving around a little bit, I got into the wrong crowds. My dad remarried when I was about 12 or 13, I think, and I had a very young stepmother. In fact, she was like 24, and I never forget this. I don't think she's an alcoholic, but she drank quite a bit, and she would go out and party, and my older sister Bonnie and I would go with her. My dad was out drinking, so we'd go party with my stepmom. And she allowed me to do some things, even at that age, that probably would never be tolerated, but I think she was, just young and having these 3 kids, including my other brothers and sisters that came along. Not all of us did at that time. She let us do a lot of things. So I proceeded to go to high school and live with my father and my stepmother and other brothers and sisters. And eventually, except for 2 of us, my dad rounded us all up, and then I ended up with the family being there. And we lived on a farm, and I went to a small school up in Upper Michigan. But I started, like I say, drinking at 12, and by 17, 18, I was into the drinking pretty well. I mean, we were talking outside earlier how it was amazing when Friday night came. What else did you do but get ready to go drinking and party? I mean, that was what Friday night was. And today I got some Friday nights that I can go to meetings and do other things or whatever, but my mind was programmed. Boy, that's what Friday nights were. And then what I would do is by the way, 5 of these brothers of mine, 4 or 5 of them, I think, I lose track, but on my stepmother's side, her father, Morter, was like 6'7", 280, 300-pound guy, just a tremendous guy. So all of my half-brothers became really big guys. I mean, 6'4", 240, whatever. And we would go to a bar and we would drink till there's no end there, and kind of known as the Royer Brothers, and we got into some nasty stuff. But one time I told this story. I was sitting up to a bar with my alcoholic father, and there was a guy sitting next to him. The 2 of them were arguing, and I was there with my 5 brothers. I mean, these are big guys compared to me. And I goes to the bathroom, and this guy he was talking with or arguing with, comes in the bathroom, and he says, and the guy was like half loaded, and he says, that guy stood up at the bar, he says, when I go back out there, I want to knock him on his ass, I'd had a few drinks, but not too many. This guy was just so-so size, and I said, I'm going to do you a favor and save your life tonight. He said, what's that? I said, out there is about 5 of my brothers. They're over there playing pool and whatever. And I says, if you do what you're going to do, I doubt if you're going to get out of here alive. So he says, and he looked at me and he kind of said, you're kidding. I said, no. I said, I think you better go back up there and enjoy your drink or leave, because that's a bad idea. And but that's what we would do. We'd get into a lot of stuff, and who started it, I don't know, but it wasn't a good picture sometimes. So I went to school, and I wanted to be the good guy yet, though, so I managed to put together some fairly decent grades through school. I mean, in fact, I was, I tell a lot of people this, salutatorian of my class of 10. So, and Judy Hinkle was the valedictorian, and the only way she got me is she did her homework and I didn't. So I was a fairly, I mean, the teachers always say, boy, you got the stuff, but I only applied myself enough to make it. I mean, so I remember my senior year, I think I still got the report card. I got 32 B's and XYZ A's and whatever, and you know, not bad for a guy that's drinking pretty heavy and partying and whatever, but you know, I had that idea, I want to be something besides just drinking. So so when I graduated from high school, then I went on to this little college, and of course, parents don't have any money or whatever. It was a 2-year junior college. I immediately got an apartment with a couple, 3 other guys that knew how to drink, and boy, that was a cat's meow. I mean, college and partying like that. And my first semester, I was partying, but I managed to get 2 B's and 2 C's and 2 B's and 2 D's. And the counselor called me in. He says, I suppose you think you got a 2-point, you know, which is a C. I said, yeah, I got 2 B's and 2 D's. Now, he says, that's not going to hold up. And he says, you're going to need to do something with the work you're doing here. You're not going to last too long. So then I would just bring it up to getting the C's. I wouldn't get any more D's, just C's and B's or whatever, but always just enough. And anyways, the drinking proceeded there the first couple years of college, and I got to the point where things were still moving along, but my dad had a stroke, and I decided, I had a cousin that was in the flooring business, which I'm in today, and he offered me a salary and to go to work for him. So I had almost 2 years, and I went to work for him, and started sending some money home because parents were pretty poor, whatever. But by that time then, I met a lot of people that worked within the trade I did and drank a lot. And I came along with my former wife, which I was married for like 23 years. I got married to a gal, and early on, until I was like 20 years old, and I'm already working a salary, and I got married, and within a year, I had the little girl, and of course that's leading to the Chevrolet and the apple pie and the new house, and everything's going to move right along, and so will the drinking, you know. So I got into that marriage and brought the same thing I had when I ended it. Not when I ended it, but right along with it was this disease of alcoholism. But it progressed, and 4 or 5 years into that marriage, things started getting a little tough. I tell a story, you know, to really qualify sometimes. I think I was like 33 years old, and the wife and I and 2 other couples went to this mall, and we decided we'd stop beforehand to have some drinks, and of course I always have more than the normal share or whatever. And we were going to go to this mall and do some shopping, and then we're going to go out and eat dinner. So the 6 of us go into this mall, and the girls go into this store. It was a big clothing store. I think it was Mervyn's. It was like a Mervyn's. It was a big store anyways, and out in front of the store was a pony and a duck that you could ride. And they were there, and boy, I'd had a few drinks, and so one of my buddies said they bet me I couldn't ride that duck standing up. And I said, hey, so I don't know, it was a few dollars we bet or whatever, so they put the money in the duck, and I got on top of them, and I'm riding this duck, you know, I'm 3 shades in the wind, and next to this duck was a huge waterfall, you know, one of those big fountains with all the lights going, and I fall off this duck into that fountain. Should have died because I should have electrocuted myself, but it blew out all the lights, and I knocked out 1/3 of the electricity in the mall. And including the store that they were in went dark, see? So all people are coming out there. I mean, people are running out of the store, and here comes my wife and the other 2 gals, and the store's dark, and here I'm laying in this thing. I should have got electrocuted. It blew all the bulbs. But that security didn't take that very lightly. So I just managed to get out of that without going to jail, but it was not a good scene. But that's you know, when you're doing that at 33 years old, that's an alcoholic. That's a disease. But had a lot of fun. A lot of fun with drinking, and that's what brought me along. What happened is, you know, in the middle of the stream here, is things were going along, and my drinking was getting a little bit worse, and his marriage wasn't working. And I'd known that. I was probably in it about 12 years or whatever, and I had a business in town by then, and I was running a flooring business and several people working for me. And I belonged to the Lions Club and the Knights of Come. I mean, all the social stuff so you can, belong to that. And things were just not working for me. And as I was doing this business, as I know today, I had this disease follow me along. It just made it difficult for me to get up in the morning sometimes, and sometimes to do business. So I was 36 years old, and I had about everything you could think of material-wise. I had the boats, and I was working 3 days a week, and once in a while I'd run my boat on a sandbar, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my buddies would have to tow me in my boat off the sandbar. I'd be out there drinking, and they'd tow me back in, and I'm like 34 years old. That's not good, but the drinking led me to that, and I got just sick and tired of living. I don't know if anybody in here experiences that, but I've heard in this program when you just get sick and tired of living and doing. And my wife on a Sunday afternoon, my former wife, found me in my hobby room in this big home and whatever, with a gun loaded to my head, and I was thinking about checking out. Whether I did it or not, it was sure on my mind an awful lot, but it scared her enough that she called some people, and I went to this clinic, Miniachi Center, and it was on a Sunday morning, and I never forget this. And a guy named Lou Miniachi, which was head of the clinic, it was also named after him, said, "What are you doing here, Gene?" I was thinking, I said, "Well," I says, "I'm kind of sick." I says, "I need a tune-up." I said, "You know how you tune a car up?" He says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, that's what I need." I said, I got some problems. And so we went and talked for about an hour, and then he started having me come back, talk a few times, and I was ready to listen to whatever it was. And about 3-4 meetings there, with the help I was getting, and he said, he says, "I got to tell you, Gene," he says, "one of your problems here, I think, is alcohol. And you came in here for a tune-up." He says, "And if I put 4 or 5 new spark plugs in your car and leave the rest of the old ones, or whatever the carburetor is, ain't gonna work too good." I mean, he come right back to the tune-up. So he says, "We probably got to take a look at what's causing your car not to run good. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're gonna have a lot of, foul cars and bad things going on." So again, I said, "Yeah." Now I was in a business at that time, and pretty outstanding, all the stuff that goes on. And I think he knew I might have run if. I belonged to the Lions Club with him, and right in the same town, and it was like, so he introduced me to a guy named Mike, and Mike was a neat guy. And I'll tell you, I don't know, one thing about Mike is he never ever mentioned the word Alcoholics Anonymous. And he says, if you come and see me for a year, I'm going to show you what alcohol does to you and your family and the people around you. And then he says, you can decide what you're going to do in life with that. And I said, that's fair. I said, that's what I want to know. So I came to see him about a year, and he showed me the little wheel, how my wife was here and my kids were there, and the enabling and all the things that were going on. And Mike, for the first time, kind of straightened out my thinking. And one other thing that was interesting is he gave me a little black book, which today is a 24-hour-a-day book and 24-hour-a-day. And I read it every day, have been for 19 years. The only thing at that time, I would read the center part only, just the spiritual. Never read the top, only the center. And Lou Miniachi said, Gene, he said, I'll tell you one thing. You got a pretty high degree of spirituality just sitting there. You ought to tap into it. He said, but just talking to you for a while, he says, you seem like you want to go there as a way to help you out. And he says, that would be good for you. So that book matched that, right? So I read that center, and then I started going to a couple of retreats, no AA, no Alcoholics Anonymous, and I started going to a couple of retreats with some buddies, and once or twice I got exposed at one retreat. This priest that I knew well would let me, it was like 60 acres, a gorgeous retreat, and I had done all the flooring in that convalescent in the whole area there. And he said, you know, Gene, he says, I tell you, I know you're in business, you got a lot of hectic things going on. We never talked about alcohol, but he says, whenever you feel like you want to get away, you can come here and eat dinner with me and stay here. There's like 40 rooms, and I'll see that I put you up and everything. Boy, and I was so excited about that. I says, I tell you, I'll do most of your flooring work for nothing, Father. You give me a deal like that, because it seemed like that's what I needed. So we made a deal like that, and one time I was at a retreat, and believe it or not, there was like 40, 50 AA people there, guys. They had a retreat there, and they found out I was there. I was sitting in a room reading, and I came on a Friday afternoon. I was going to spend a couple of nights and go home, and I heard them taking a vote. I'll never forget this. They were taking a vote in the other room whether they're going to let me stay or not. And Father was part of that, and he said, you know, guy's here, he always comes here, he's not going to be any problem. I'll put him off in a room a ways away, and he can just come to Mass, and that's it. And then I heard him decide okay, because I was thinking, geez, I'm going to have to get out of here, you know. Well, anyways, as I was around there, one guy had a big book, and we'd talk a little bit, and he'd tell me about the big book, and that's it. I continued my retreats and went on my way. And in fact, I went to confession one time and said to this priest, you know, we were talking, and my life's getting pretty good religious-wise, and he says, you know, I said, I wonder why all these guys got to go to this program here, Father, and I don't. I says, and I've been able to be sober about a year or two now, and I don't. And he says, my son, consider yourself blessed. He says, I'm in the same program they are, but down the road you're going to consider yourself blessed. And I took that away and went with it. Well, part of the story is I ran with that for about 6 years, and in between that time, my daughter was like 15, and my son was 11. Today she's 34, and I think he's 31. And I didn't have any family life. I mean, I had them retreats and religion, and I didn't have any drink. You know, been a couple years now without a drink, but boy, life was tough. Nothing made sense. Life didn't, family didn't. Even the only thing I had is that religion to hang on to, and thank God that was there. But it'll give you an idea here a little bit how important that is. But so I just managed to move along with this bad marriage and whatever. But I made a point that I was going to change my life, and that was like, you know, 25 years ago or whatever. My daughter, like I say, was a sophomore, and I was going to start spending more time with my kids and my family, and selling off this business, and just trying to be something, maybe even just finish up the last 5 years with my kids before they go to high school and leave, being something to them. And I realized that today was the best thing I ever done in my life, because I think I'd have missed them otherwise. But so I paid attention to that, and then I came out to California. I got an offer to come out here and sell the business and get out of it or whatever, nice salary. So I came out here, and I think I was about 4 years sober, 5 years sober, and never had a drink in the state, but never had any AA either. So brought the wife with me and the one son, and now my daughter was back at Michigan State, and I kept trying to make it together. Well, I got a great job again, you know, like we do, great job, put things together, money started coming in, nice place, got me and my son in this marriage that ain't working too good, and I just wanted to do more of my life, and this marriage was kind of dead, so we decided after 23 years to get a divorce. And I was kind of the one that just decided to do that, and she thanked me for that, but that's what I did. And now I found out all of a sudden I'm just working a job, making a lot of money, got a son that's only got a year or two to go to college, and I'm going to be on my own, and no friends, nothing to speak of. And so things got pretty tough, and I went over and seen a gal over in North Hollywood. Ellen, I love her today. And I went and seen her, and boy, I talked about all these things I just told you about. And you know what Ellen said? She says, you ever think about starting where you left off? I said, where's that? She says, you ever try AA? I said, well, no. I says, I'm telling you, that's from reading that book now for 6 years, that center part and all of that, nothing. No drinking, but just white knuckling. I said, no, I really never have. And I says, she said, well, I'll tell you what. She says, you got some time? She says, why don't you, I'll take you to a couple meetings. First of all, she said, why don't you be a little scout? She says, I'll send you out and you check these meetings out, and you come back and give me a report. And I think you'll like what you found. So I would do that. I went to a meeting or two, and I'd get my little book or my mind enough geared up. I was almost going to tape it. Right? I get a little meeting, and I come back. That ain't for me. I said, some guys are all drinking and this and that. And I said, what's that going to do for me? I mean, I was sitting there talking to her at 4 years old. She said, well, she said, maybe you should try another one. I try another one. I come back. I don't know. And she says, got one more for you to try. She says, there's a meeting over in, called Tri-God over in Palms. And she says, I tell you what, she says, I know a lot of people there. I'll go with you. I said, okay. So I'd been seeing her for a while. We went over to the meeting, and I went to that meeting, and I kind of liked it. I liked it. It was a Friday night, and it was a general meeting, and I kind of liked it. Now the people were there. And so we talked about it a little bit, and she says, you know, they got a men's stag there on Tuesday night. Why don't you try that? And I went over there to a men's stag on a Tuesday night by myself, and that's where I met my sponsor today. And boy, I'll tell you what, I couldn't believe, you know, some of those people and what they were saying, and starting to click a little bit, you know. So I'm already sober 4 years, and white knuckling, or 6 years, I guess it was 6 years. And I asked this guy, I says, I think it was the second meeting, I says, hey, you know, I'm supposed to get a sponsor now. I guess that's how you work this deal. I says, how do I do that? And he just pointed to this guy over there. It's my sponsor. He says, go over there and tell him I told you to sponsor him, and he will do that. So I walk over there and tell this guy that, and he's, oh yeah? He says, well, maybe we should talk about that. But it ended up him being my sponsor, and boy, that was the greatest thing ever happened to me in my life. And you know, because I was so intelligent and I had all this world revolving around me and things were going so great, he was smart enough to recognize that, and he says, we're going to give you an advanced degree here in AA. And I said, what's that? And he says, we're going to do some chairs and mopping floors and kitchens and coffee. And Jesus, and you know, he gave me that, you know, that alternative. Well, you want what I have? You like what I got? You either do that or what else you going to do? And I just tired of being on my own, you know. Sober or not, I can tell you, if you was to get that much time, and some people call me a walking miracle because I had that, I can guarantee you two things. It ain't pleasant, and number two is the only reason I was ever able to do that is, remember that spiritual higher power part back there? I never gave myself credit for it. That's what we do in this program today, because if I'd have said any time in between there, I'm sure, boy, look what I did one more time. Look what I did. I quit drinking on my own. The only difference is I always said, thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you for taking this misery. I mean, I was hanging onto a toilet stool in the morning, making love to it, putting a gun to my head, you know, and somebody told me that alcohol was causing that. And then I got that little brief. So look at that God shot when that priest said, my son, you've been blessed. Never forgot it. Never forgot it. Never will. He did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And he done that through this program called Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the reasons why, I don't know, I think I got 13 years now, 6 and 13 is 19, coming to these meetings 2 or 3 times a week and speaking and doing, and Jesus, there's nothing better you could possibly do. So, boy, life after that, it's like cleaning floors and doing chairs and secretary and treasurer. I can think of all the stuff I've done. And another thing is, you know, what was great about my sponsor is he wasn't the kind of guy that went to one single meeting only. I mean, he was the kind of guy that went all over, and he went out in the valley, and you know, the first 6 months or a year, him and his wife, I was a lonely guy, and they took me everywhere with them on Sundays and out to the parties, and they started calling me the Valley Boy out there. In fact, for those of you who were here last week and heard George take his 20-year cake, I met George 13 years ago in the valley, and because I was going to those same parties he was, and then I met him, and I met his sponsor, and Don, and all the sponsors. I mean, I met so many people that I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe this program was capable of that, because I know why some of those things happened is the world quit revolving around me, and the self-centeredness went away. Interesting thing happened to me today was I've been trying somehow to, as we all do, to put some of this program back onto those sisters and brothers, but you know, it's their thing, they got to do it. But my mother's kind of getting up there. She's about 70, 76, I think now, and got some health problems, and she's estranged from my two sisters because she's really, she's a tough case. Reality is she's a tough case. But I, over the years, have been trying to be nice, and I love you, and that's okay, Ma. I understand, you know. I mean, I could go back and tell you things that would make any kid, you know, quiver, you know, with the abandonment and whatever, but that's okay, Ma. I still love you. And I've been doing that for a long time, and I went back there about 6 months ago, and one of the things I've been trying to do is always get her somehow to just come around where she would be nice and say I love you, and start looking at it a little different, just looking at life. And you know something, I think the last trip I made back there, it was part business, part that, I think I broke the ice. She started talking to me about life, and she's got some bad health things now, and about a will, and okay, do this and that. And I says, boy, wouldn't it be nice, Ma? I says, if not only could help you with the will, but maybe all of us could help you a little bit. And I says, the real problem is, I know you argue with Bonnie and Patty, but the thing is, it's time to just, you know, give them some rest. I mean, my one sister's older than I am, and the other one, they just fight, and they're into that. They don't have what I have. And but I pray that they do. And so I said, why don't you start doing that? So the next thing you know, I was able to get this will thing going with her, and bring one sister in to help her with the will. I met her over in Las Vegas, Patty, and she's working some kind of program. I think it's Al-Anon right now. And so her life is changing, and I was able to work her. And then today she calls me and says, yeah, she emailed me. She's not going to believe this, Eugene. She says, I just talked to Bonnie for the first time in years. That's my other sister. See, they're estranged too, you know, and they're all fighting and whatever. And I says, you know, Mike's talking to me, my other brother. I says, boy, this loop's getting bigger. I said, we may be able to, you know, bring everybody in here. I says, that's fantastic. I'm happy for you. And so the copy of the will is going to everyone instead of just me, right? I made sure that it wasn't going to be my own deal with my mom. You got to give this to everyone and just let them know what you want to do and see if they'll help you. And the family's coming together. And shared that with my 34-year-old daughter, who, by the way, has a master's degree in sociology, psychology, minor substance abuse license. When she was getting her master's degree at Michigan State, she would call up, and I had about 5, 6 years sober, maybe more than that, because I was in the program, and she would actually ask me questions and do things, and I said, Cam, are you using me for a guinea pig? And well, yeah, she's kind of like, it's okay, you can roll them out. But boy, that relationship is great today. But I shared that with her because she knows I've been trying so hard to, whatever there is left. I mean, I'm not responsible for what happens within that family because there's a lot of turmoil. But whatever is left, if I can help any way I can, she knows I've been trying to do that. And she just said I'm the greatest dad in the world, you know. And I got a couple grandsons to prove that, because the one's 12 and one's 7, and that's good. On my son's side, he was a little, I don't say less than fortunate, but very smart mind. Don't worry, Dad, I can do it. And about 20 years old, I can tell you, if anybody was sitting out there, we all know what this disease can do to you. He managed to go to an institution for 9 years. And he'd never been in jail in his life, and he never had a drunk driving ticket, and at 20 years old they just put him away for 17 years. And these drugs and this disease will certainly do that for you. Today he got out about 1.5 years ago, and he's like 31, 33, and I tell you, I'm proud of this guy. He's got a job, he's got a car, got a little bit of a place. When I go visit him sometimes, it ain't much, but it's seeing him do it on his own is what really counts. And I remember 5 years ago when I go visit him in prison, you know, I'd say, you know, Greg, I says, I'm going to love you now until the day I die, but there ain't any guarantees, you know, 9 years that you're going to walk out of here and go straight and not come back here for the rest of your life. I may not come and see you as often as I have, maybe you know, half as much, but I'll still love you all your life if you do. But everybody's got a little bucket out there in the rope, and when you get out, I'll be there to, you know, help you pull on the rope. You know, that's all I can do. and he's pulling. He's got a job within 30 days. And I've heard people get out of the institutions and they can't find a job. And you know what he said to me? He said, I'm going to knock on 50 doors a month until I find a job, and I don't care what it is. And he went out and he knocked on doors. I mean, they gave him a place out there that 85% are going back because they couldn't even get a job. But he's got a couple years of college, smart guy. That's what got him there. But he's knocking on doors, and next thing you know, he says within 25 days he had a job working on a golf course, raking golf course and walking 8 miles a day and working. In fact, he was there. Some of the guys couldn't believe a guy like that would be there, right? But to him it was a job, you know. And now he's a couple people took him into the printing company out there, and he's doing very well there. And whatever happens, whatever it is, you know, the love, the tough love, the things that go on, I'm giving him all the support I can, but not enabling. You know, he's got to grab that rope himself, and I think he's doing it. So that's my 2 kids and my grandsons, and finally, you know, I always wanted all those people, places, and things in my life, and I can tell you today, I got more people than I could ever dream of in my life, and places, boy, I'm going. I mean, I got a business today that is just going, and it's like I'm able to sit back sometimes and watch the direction and which way, and ask people for advice and help and do things. I mean, I could never be where I'm at, I don't think, without having the stability of this program. And the things are there, but you know, the things don't mean as much. I mean, they mean something, but the other day my former wife is having some difficulties, and she needed a copy or something, and I had one that was a few years old, and I was getting a new one, and I told my daughter to give it to her, and she sent me a thank you card, and my daughter said, wow, you're just going to give her that? I said, yeah, come on, give it to her. Let her, you know, that'll help her get a job. I mean, I've had computers in my office now that I've not only given it to them, I've drove out and set it up for them. And people in this program. And so the giving and the sharing is part of it. And I think that's what keeps you having people, places, and things in your life. If you build that little world around yourself only, for me anyways, it's going to be very disappointing, because I wouldn't want to lose all those people in my life, especially those people in AA. Those are the people through the steps, the hard work of the program. I don't think this thing is totally easy. I mean, it's simple. It's not a hard program for anybody to get, although I'm aware that, like a lot of us are, that a lot of them just never get it. But you got to put some effort into it. I mean, I had to. I had to do those meetings and do that stuff and go out there, put some effort in it. And I've told a lot of guys I've worked with, I'll guarantee you that there's no more balance that you can get in your life than this program. Back there, through my stories, I've spent the $100 an hour at all the psychologists you want to go to. I love Ellen today because she not only can straighten your mind out, but she'll bring you to one of these programs pretty quick too. She got a master's degree to counseling, all that, but I have a particular like for that part of it, because she'll work the combination of the two. And you know, I've heard, and I don't know if you have, but in fact, she would agree with me, so would my daughter, that no matter what they do, if you go into the counseling, you know how weight is, you can't keep that off. The odds of you going out on your own and completing what this program has to offer and what it is, it's almost nil. I mean, you can sit there and talk to a psychologist for an hour. They're going to give you some good points, and I believe in them. But on the same token, if you don't go out there and apply that on a larger scale with a group of people and find some companionship and some ways to keep balance in your life, it's tough. It's tough. Ask the guy that, you know, did it for 6 years without even a drink. It'd be pretty easy to fool myself and tell myself I can go back out there again because I got the last 6 years. In fact, sometimes, you know, when I get the time I have, that's what scares me the most. You know, is getting that foolish thought in the back of my head that, hey, I can do it. I did it before, right? Seen too many people come back in and the results was nil until I let go absolutely. And Some of these phrases you've heard in this program too are probably, they were pretty corny to me when I first came in here, but boy, a lot of them, they are so simple and they work. I mean, I know when I first got here too, I used that and still do today, that serenity prayer. I mean, that's a God shot. I use that in my business every day sometimes when things aren't going quite right, and it works. I mean, I turn it over, but so life's a pretty good package today, and I owe most of it to AA and also my higher power, which I choose to call God. And I think God can be a pretty big universe. It talks about it in the book about a big hoop you can jump through. For a guy that even had some Catholic upbringing and all the things or whatever, religion never made sense until I tied it in with this program, because it was not, I finally was able to see that vision of spirituality and God and go through there and quit calling the shots on my own, you know. So I guess I'm about ready to wrap it up. I got one final thing. I got a mentor, a guy called Pops, AJ Art Jasmine. Guy's been around me all my life, and he's not in this program, and I think he's probably still having German fellow 1 or 2 beers a day or every other day for his life, and he's 75 years old. But you know, one thing he told me about was balance. I mean, we do these things, if we do everything in moderation, we can live the longest. And I said to him, I agree with that, but that's my problem, right? I can't do everything in moderation. I get obsessed on one thing and I go for it. And I know that's this disease. And balance you can find here. So my good friend said, he told me years ago, he says, if you ever read any Ben Franklin over a couple hundred years ago, he said, don't take life too serious. You can't get out of it alive.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.